Red Dead Redemption 2 is better than sex. I'm sorry. Someone had to say it. Everyone's too scared. Everyone's thinking it, but no one wants to come out to say it. But, I've got to be the one. I've got to be the brave one to take the step forward. Red Dead Redemption 2 is better than sex. It's been said. Now we can further the discussion. Anyway, this is just a response to Jim Sterling's recent Jimquisition about obsession with detail over attention to detail. And he starts off by mentioning a quote, which I sympathize a lot, and I take that to heart. The message he was getting across, which is something about Monty Python, and the team behind it was just so dead focused on getting the fog effects perfect, and to the point where it frustrated the director. I forget what his name was, or not the director. I forget exactly who he was, to be honest. But it frustrated him, and he was like, "Is the fog funny?" And it's sort of like game developers or just artists in general losing sight of the forest for the trees. I can sympathize with that. I get it. But I think that, and I agree with him on several things that he mentioned. I've never played Shenmue, but I've agreed with him in the Breath of the Wild durability, although I feel like that's not so much a realism problem. I feel like that's just a game design problem, like in general. I don't think they were trying to go for realism there. I feel like the durability is comically absurd in Breath of the Wild, to the point where I'm just frustrated whenever I pick up a new weapon. But that's beside the point. Joseph Anderson has a great video about Breath of the Wild that I think covers a lot of the bases, and I think you should check it out if you want to get into that discussion. But I think Jim Sterling, specifically as a person who has been on record in the past saying, it was around the time Breath of the Wild came out, I think Nier Automata came out, and there was another open world, maybe Horizon Zero Dawn or something like that came out. He was saying he was getting not sick of it, but he said something along the lines of he's just getting sort of exhausted by all these open world massive games with all this shit to do and all these different side activities and everything, and it's another like exhausting open world experience. And I can definitely sympathize with that feeling, but I think after he said that, I sort of I hold his opinion of these open world games with a grain of salt. And I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is a perfect example of a game that he wouldn't like because of that experience. And he says like things that Red Dead Redemption 2 does, like how slow the character walks, or blah blah blah, etc., etc. There are flaws with the game because they were focusing too much on realism as opposed to making the game fun. And I would argue the opposite, although I would say sometimes the way that the characters move so tankishly, that's not a word, but anyway, the way the characters move like a tank, sometimes it can make you like miss things that you're trying to pick up or whatever, and that's a little annoying. But here, I think it's up to the artist, right? It's up to the person creating the thing to decide what's fun and what's funny and what's not, in terms of, like, to use the Monty Python example. I, as a writer, as someone who studied poetry, I know damn well that it sometimes, like, a single word or single letter, even a single space, can make so much of a difference in meaning between one poem and another. And I understand making a game is not like making a poem, and some might say the primary focus of a game is to be fun, and not necessarily to say anything or do anything like that. Although I would say that the point of Red Dead Redemption 2 is that all these slow interactions and shit make the game more fun. I do have to note this real quick, and I just remembered it. He got mad at the looting animation. He said that was also overlong and stuff. The looting animation is like 2 or 3 seconds long. It's really not that long at all. But anyway, to the point. I'm the kind of guy who, when I play a game, I like to see the animations. If my character is going to sleep, and I press the button to make them go to sleep, I want to see them get in the bed and put their head down. I like that shit. I also like when I'm riding a horse, I want to ride all the way across the field rather than fast travel. That's why when I play some Fallout games, and I think there are probably mods that can change this, but I feel like by default the Fallout games don't do this. Even Fallout 4 didn't do this. Is that when I go to a bed and I press A to sleep in it or whatever, or X or whatever console you're playing on, my character, it just brings up a menu and I choose how long I want to sleep for. And I don't like that. It's quicker, it's more fun, etc., whatever, depending on what kind of player you are. It's not more fun for me. I like to be able to see my character get in the bed and go to sleep. I like to see my character sit down and start cooking something. I like to see my character holster his gun or whatever. There's these little details that I really, really like. I like having to lead my horse to a town, and I just like the feeling of that. I like the fact that it feels like I'm part of this living, breathing world, rather than just going through a set of menus or some shit. And I think that's where Jim Sterling misses the point. And again, I could be missing the point, but this is, in my opinion, I think he's missing the point of Red Dead Redemption 2, which is that it's not supposed to be fast-paced. And it's a big thing. He also didn't like The Last Guardian. I didn't read his review on it or watch his video on it. But I really like The Last Guardian because it's supposed to be slow-paced. It's supposed to be this incredibly slow-paced, sort of out-of-your-control sort of experience. And Assassin's Creed just came out, Spider-Man just came out recently, and then now Red Dead Redemption 2. When you have to play so many of them in such a short amount of time because you're a reviewer, yeah, that can get really exhausting. And having to sit through all these slow-paced animations and shit is probably really frustrating. But I feel like that's dismissing a large contingent, I would say, I don't have the numbers for this, but I think it's a large contingent of people who really like that attention to detail, who really likes the fact that I can go and sit in a bath and take a bath with my character, or I have to feed my horse or brush it and groom it and shit like that. It feels so good to me and to a lot of other people when you're playing a game and you can see that sort of detail go through. And I don't have a problem at all when I played Red Dead Redemption with the speed of the animations, because it all feels to me like it contributes to this sense that I'm in this large, immersive, compelling world. If I were playing the game to rush through it, yeah, it would be really frustrating, but I'm not. And I'm enjoying the slow ride that it's taking me for. I think that I'm very immersed in the world, and I very much enjoy it, and I think the detail is the point. I think the slow pace is the point of it. And if you get mad about that, then you're getting mad at the game that it's trying to be. And maybe you just dislike it on the fundamental level at that point. And he said he liked the game, and like it's a massive achievement and whatever, but I'm just saying generally, I feel like his issues with it are against what the game is trying to be, like on a fundamental level. So that was just some thoughts I had. I had another thought, but I can't even I remember it right now. But yeah, I love the slow pace of it. It's just like I love the slow pace of like a Metal Gear game. Like Metal Gear can be fast paced if you play it that way, but it can also be very slow paced, very methodical, very calculated. I like that a lot. I just think the point of Red Dead Redemption is that it's slow, and that it's so meticulous. That's my thoughts. This has been a RagTime or whatever. More videos to come.
A long ways from the ranch, cowboy.
Okay. You know what? Time for some fun.